Welcome to the Gridiron Live from the Media Hub on riotradio.ca. I'm your host, Will McAllister. This show's all about the NFL, and today I'm going to be discussing my favorite draft picks, losers of the NFL draft, and also winners of the NFL draft. So the draft happened last week. It happened Thursday through Saturday, April 24th to the 26th. And most of these players when we talk about are going to be through the first two rounds, through the first two segments, and then the last segment is just going to be like an overall, like, who won the draft. Actually, same thing with the second segment when we talk about the draft as a whole. But before we get into that, the draft for me was pretty fun. I mean, we saw a lot of good picks happen. We saw some surprising picks as well, in my opinion. But it was a very good draft. I'm not gonna lie. Definitely the first couple of picks. Like, obviously, Cam Ward to Tennessee was going to happen. The Jaguars trading up to number 2. Well, it was pretty surprising because there were talks about them trading up to number 5 with, no, not number 5. The Chicago Bears were actually going to trade up from 10 to 5, and Jacksonville was going to trade back and acquire more picks. But they went bold. They went aggressive. They wanted to trade up to number 2 to get Travis Hunter, and it was a good pick. Abdul Carter was good. Like, a lot of good draft picks. I think one of the surprising things was the Steelers not going to quarterback early. I mean, they take Derek Harmon in round 1. They took Caleb Johnson, the running back, in round 3. I thought that was a bit surprising to me. And also Colston Loveland at number 10 to Chicago. At the time, I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Why you have Cole Kmet right there? But now, with a couple days later, it actually does kind of make sense because that is their, like, Sam Laporta decoy. Because if the Bears drafted Tyler Warren, it's like you're getting Cole Kmet with Cole Kmet. It just doesn't really make any sense. So they added some versatility to that pass catching room. But I'm gonna get right into my favorite draft picks right now. So I have 5 players. I got 3 of them that were picked in the first round, and 2 of them were picked in the second. So I'm gonna hop right into it. So at number 5, I have Luther Burden to Chicago, the wide receiver from the Missouri Tigers. There were in some mock drafts that he was getting taken late first round. I've seen somewhere the Chargers take him at 22 and the Packers at 23, but he ends up falling to round 2 to Chicago, and it felt like, I wouldn't even say right place, right time, because you already had DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, you drafted Colston Loveland in round 1, you still got Cole Kmet. I felt like the Bears, they were just following their board a little bit. They said, you know what, screw it, we're going to take Luther Burden because why not? We're going to even surround our young quarterback with more weapons. So the Bears did a really good job within the first 2 rounds getting Colston Loveland, Luther Burden. Still got DJ Moore, still got Rome Odunze, DeAndre Swift, Roschon Johnson. So Caleb Williams has a lot of help in this offense. So the offense for Chicago should thrive this year. I mean, in terms of fantasy football purposes, I'm definitely going to keep away from Luther Burden. It's kind of like the Rome Odunze role like last year because you had DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze. Now you got DJ Moore, you got Rome Odunze, Luther Burden. So the Bears, they do get younger at receiver, just like the Seahawks did in the past offseason, but really like this pick. And I like the fact that Burden, he runs a 4.41 40-yard dash, which is pretty good. And they're going to use him a lot on, like, screens, a little short. They can use him on, like, short dump-offs, but I think his skill set is more go deep, the deep ball. Same thing with Odunze, but it was one of my favorite picks. I really liked Luther Burden. I thought Dallas was going to take him at pick 44, but that was a little bit too far for him to end up there. But overall, great pick by Chicago. At number 4, I got Jahad Campbell to the Eagles. What a steal by Philadelphia. I had him going 19th. To Tampa Bay in last week's mock draft episode, so he ends up falling to 31 into the team I hate the most, and that is the Eagles. They even said, Ian Rappaport, when he was reporting after he got picked, the Eagles actually made some trade calls. They wanted to trade up from 32 to 22 with the Chargers. Then the Chargers took Omarion Hampton. Then they wanted to trade up from 23 to Green Bay, but they took Matthew Golden. Then 24 to Minnesota, they took Donovan Jackson. So it was crazy that the Eagles wanted him, and they actually traded up 1 pick ahead of Kansas City to take Campbell. But to be honest, I don't think Kansas City was gonna go with Jahad Campbell. They were gonna keep Josh Simmons. So the Chiefs got an extra pick in return for the Eagles to take the same player. But he's a good player. I mean, I mean, the defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio, gets another new weapon. They love taking players from Alabama and Georgia. I mean, they just absolutely love it, and especially on that defensive side of the ball. I mean, I'm not sure if they got an edge rusher in the draft. I thought that's what they were going to go in round 1. But I love this pick. You have Zach Bond, Nakobe Dean, and now Jahad Campbell as your linebacking core. So overall, these guys are going to play fast and furious. That's what they're going to play. That's their style of play for these Philadelphia linebackers. At number 3, I have Donovan Ezeraku goes to the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, I think the Cowboys had a very good draft, but this was my favorite pick of their draft. I mean, getting a guy not comparing to pass with Micah Parsons, the pass rush with, is absolutely huge. I mean, I do get it that they did sign Dante Fowler. Sam Williams is coming off of injury. He's coming back. Marshawn Nealon who's all right. He had an all right rookie season. And you also have Peyton Turner, which is just a depth piece. But you get someone like Ezeraku with Parsons. I mean, and Ezeraku at Boston College had 16.5 sacks last season. He also had one season at Boston College where he had 8.5 sacks. So this is kind of like your DeMarcus Lawrence replacement here. The only thing that worries me about Donovan Ezeraku is his size. I mean, he's 6'2", 248. It worries me a little bit because obviously, well, he's not gonna stop the run, but because he's obviously an edge, he's a pass rusher. But I can definitely see his rookie year. He gets 7 to 8 sacks. I can definitely say. I think Micah will get 12 to 13. I think Ezeraku is going to end up with like 7 to 8. Dante Fowler will end up with like around, I would say the same amount as Ezeraku, so 7 to 8 as well. But this was a great pick. I mean, Dallas, even though they didn't really go, I mean, the first 3 rounds, they didn't take a skill position player, so they didn't take a running back, they didn't take a wide receiver. They still had a very good draft. I mean, I have no complaints with this draft as well. But yeah, I just love the fact, and I even said to my dad, I think it was in February when we were out walking the dog at night when we were just talking about the draft, and I was like, I said to him, I was like, I kind of want them to go pass rusher within the first 3 rounds just so that I can have that versatility again, get that pass rushing core back, that rotational pass rush, which is going to be really key for them, especially when you're playing a division with Philly, Washington, and the Giants, who all have great D linemen. At number 2, I have Travis Hunter to Jacksonville. I'm going to be honest, I did not expect Hunter to go to Jacksonville. I thought he was going to end up with Cleveland, the Giants, or the Patriots. I thought those 3 teams were going to end up with him. But this was a great move. Jacksonville, they've always been like, in the draft especially, they've always been like held back. They've always been, they haven't been too aggressive, and then you have fans that are like, oh, the Jaguars just gave up a lot of their draft capital to get this one player, but they're aggressive. They're being bold. I like this move by the Jags front office, and you kill 2 birds with 1 stone here. The Jaguars need help at receiver and help at corner, and Hunter can play both of those positions well. He will start off as a wide receiver, like for the majority of the snaps, he'll play out wide out. But then they'll slowly ease him into playing corner. But this was a great move, I think, for Jacksonville. It's really changing. And they want to give Liam Cohen, not even Liam Cohen, Trevor Lawrence, the quarterback, they want to give him another weapon to work with. Him, Travis Hunter, and Brian Thomas are going to have a very good season together. They're going to be one of the best duos, wide receiving duos for a bit. I think, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins have been a great duo. This duo has the potential to be better than them. Because Brian Thomas had a very good rookie year with very little, he had some of Trevor Lawrence, but he also was dealing with Mac Jones as well. So it just shows you that Brian Thomas Jr. is quarterback proof. And we also have Travis Hunter. They can make, if I was the Jaguars quarterback, those receivers can make me look like a Pro Bowl quarterback. But no, great fit, great move by the Jaguars, being aggressive and taking Hunter at number 2. And number 1, my favorite pick has to go to Mason Graham, going to the Cleveland Browns. Pick number 5. So the Browns, they were at number 2. They traded back with Jacksonville. Jacksonville had a lot for, I think it was like 2 third-round picks the Jaguars offered the Browns. They took it. They take Mason Graham. It might have been I'll look it up after the music break, but I'll look up what the trade prediction that trade was. But I liked how they traded back, and now you added another D lineman for Myles Garrett. I mean, it's not a pass rusher, it's not Abdul Carter. However, though, Mason Graham can probably get you 8 to 9 sacks from that defensive tackle position, and great run defender. He is he's probably the best run defender in this draft class to me. You're going to definitely have 2 offensive linemen. Keep occupying him at all times. And when you do that, you're going to leave one-on-one ISO for Myles Garrett. So it's like kind of like pick your punishment a little bit here. But yeah, I do like how they did trade back, and their entire draft was really well put together. I'll talk a little bit about that later on in the episode. But no, Mason Graham, you add him. There was a time, I think it might have been right after the combine, where I started to get a little nervous for him because of his injury. He was coming off a major injury. Same thing with his teammate and Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle out of Michigan. So it kind of scared me a little bit that he was gonna fall out of the top 10, but he gets picked at number 5 in Cleveland. I just have a feeling that Myles Garrett, the defensive end, is kind of running the organization at this point because he wanted out. He didn't want to have a trade. He wanted to be traded, but the Browns rejected his trade request, and then he didn't want to take any contract talks with Cleveland, but then sign a 4-year, like $160 million deal. So I think at this point he's running the organization. He gets a rookie D tackle in Mason Graham that's gonna be a big part of that Cleveland, not only the run defense but also against the pass as well. So in the next segment I'm going to be talking about some of the losers of the draft. So I picked out 5 teams that I think didn't really have the best draft, or things that they could have gone better. I think a lot of teams hit on a lot of their picks, but these are some of the teams that I have. But first, I'm going to talk about 2 honorable mentions I want to quickly talk about. The first honorable mention in the losers list has to be Shedeur Sanders. I think him falling in the 5th round was absolutely insane to me. It's one of those like picks where it's like, okay, he didn't get picked in the 1st round, he'll definitely go in the 2nd. Doesn't get picked in the 2nd? Okay, he has to go in the 3rd round. And then it's like, doesn't get picked in the 3rd. Doesn't get picked in the 4th. Finally, the Browns take him in the 5th round after they took Dylan Gabriel. And it got me thinking with Sanders, what was he saying in these pre-draft interviews? Like, what was happening? There were also a lot of reports saying that he was, entitled, that he didn't care. And also, there was one scout that said he wasn't very good. But, and the second loser of the draft has to be Jax Ulbrich. If you don't know who Jax Ulbrich is, he is the son of the Falcons defensive coordinator, Jeff Ulbrich. And Jax Ulbrich actually pranked call Shedeur Sanders, and unfortunately, the Falcons as a team got fined $250,000, and the defensive coordinator got fined $100,000 just because his son made a silly move by prank calling Shedeur Sanders. It absolutely was just not good for him. I know Jeff Ulbrich is definitely not happy right now. That his son it was just so silly. Like, why? Like, why ruin someone's draft moment? That's their moment they've been working on for their entire life. It's selfish, it's idiotic, it's childish. Like, why do such a thing like that? It's just, and Jax Ulbrich, if you want to search him up on Instagram, he does have a post that's saying that his actions were not great. He apologized. He hoped that Shedeur Sanders can forgive him. But if I'm Shedeur Sanders, I'm saying I'm not forgiving you. I'm like, why? Why would I forgive you for ruining my moment? So it's like, doesn't make any sense. But those were the 2 honorable mentions. So I'm going to get right into the teams that I think the draft that could have been better for them. At number 5, I'm going with the Detroit Lions. I do like their first 2 picks of the draft. I think them going with Tyleik Williams at 28 was very good. Him and Alan McNeil, that's a nice little defensive tackle duo right there. Tate Ratledge isn't a bad guard in the draft. Getting him in the 2nd round was pretty good value. But then after that, I was kind of like, not really big. Like Isaac Tesla, they didn't really have to go wide receiver because you already have Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams. You also have Sam Laporta, the tight end. Miles Frazier, solid depth piece for them. Ahmed Hassian for the edge rusher out of Boise State. That's not a bad pick for them. And then taking a safety, Dan Jackson. I think Dan Jackson and Dominic Love isn't bad, but taking Dan Jackson, just kind of a depth piece at that point because you paid Kirby Joseph to be the highest paid safety in the NFL. I mean, it's the best out of the worst. So I mean, I do like their first two picks. You know, it starts in the trenches for some teams, and they did do a really good job of getting Tyreek Williams and Tate Ratledge. But other than that, I was like, man, this draft's just all right. I'm not a big fan of it, of this draft. At number 4, I have the Cincinnati Bengals. Man, there are a lot of people that did not like the Bengals draft class, and I think them taking Shamar Stewart for me was kind of the right pick here. Just because you definitely have to get someone for Trey Hendrickson, and plus Hendrickson, we don't know if he's going to play this year. We don't know if he's going to be traded. We just don't know with Cincinnati. Demetrius Knight Jr., I wasn't the biggest fan of this pick for Cincinnati. I thought they were going to go more in the secondary because maybe like a Benjamin Morrison, the corner from Notre Dame. Dylan Fairchild was okay. Then after that, I mean, them taking Taj Brooks in round 6 was just, I thought they were gonna go maybe a wide receiver 3 here, but didn't. Their overall draft didn't really impress me. Maybe the Shamar Stewart pick was all right. Dylan Fairchild was okay, but their overall draft didn't really impress me as a whole. I mean, I'm reading it off NFL Network. It's from a draft analyst. His name is Chad Redder, draft analyst and also a writer from the NFL Network. And he gave the Bengals day 1 grade. He gave their day 1 grade a B, their day 2 grade a B, their day 3 grade a C minus. So it just tells you what their draft is heading. I definitely think in terms of the defensive side, they only went 3 picks on defense. It took edge, linebacker, and linebacker. So, I mean, we'll see what happens with Cincinnati. Hopefully their defense does a whole lot better than they did last year, just giving up so many points in so many games last season. At number 3, I have the Minnesota Vikings. I look at this draft and it kind of doesn't, same thing. It's like it doesn't really impress me like a whole lot. I mean, the Vikings went Donovan Jackson in round 1, which I'm thinking, okay, it kind of makes sense but even though they did add Will Fries and Ryan Kelly to that O-line, I think O-line wasn't the biggest problem that they had. Maybe a safety. I thought they were going to go maybe Nick Emmanwori or maybe Malachi Starks in round 1 because Harrison Smith, it would be a nice pairing with Harrison Smith, and plus he is not getting any younger. But overall, I'm just like, meh. This draft is like kind of like whatever to me. But yeah, so they took Don. Yeah, and plus they took Ty Felton in round 3, which once again, like wide receiver wasn't really your biggest like concern. I think maybe, I don't know, linebacker would have been safety, and linebacker, like guard I kind of understand, but then taking a wide receiver in round 3 just didn't, because you also have a solid number 3 option. Like you have Justin Jefferson, you have Jordan Addison, you have Jalen Naylor, like you have solid options, so you didn't really need to take a receiver right there. Tyron Ingram Dawkins, the D lineman out of Georgia, just okay, solid depth piece. Kobe King, it's gonna be tough to like ask for him to do a lot. I mean, because you do have Van Ginkel, but if Kobe King is starting, that's gonna be a whole lot for him to ask from him, because a 6th round linebacker, he's gonna have to go through a whole lot. Like he's gonna have to compete and play his butt off. I mean, and then they took Gavin Bartholomew, which I honestly had no idea who he was, but he was the tight end out of Pitt. So, like overall, like he gave their overall draft grade a B. So, I mean, I probably personally wouldn't, because there were a lot of things that they could have addressed more than taking a guard and a wide receiver, maybe safety and a linebacker. At number 2, I have the LA Rams. So the Rams actually did like a good thing in the draft. They traded back, and I think they acquired the Falcons' 1st round pick from next year's draft. And then in the 2nd round, they took Terrence Ferguson, the tight end from Oregon, which to me doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. There's still a lot of good, talented players on the board at this point. I think Mike Green was there. There were also some solid wide receivers if you wanted to, get even younger for help Matthew Stafford out a little more. Even maybe a running back. They did take Jarquez Hunter out of Auburn in round 4, which was like fine, but yeah, I don't. There's some players here that I just don't. I don't know. I look at their draft and it's kind of like, why, you know? Like I think them taking Terrence Ferguson kind of just like set the whole thing off. Like it's a good thing that they did trade back, so that it says that they traded out of the first round and it gave them a 2026 first round pick next year. So that 2026 first round pick might be a QB because Stafford's in his like mid 30s. So hopefully that's where they go with that range. But yeah, I look at this draft, I'm like, whatever, you know. Like, it's so tough to pick the losers in this draft class because there's some teams a majority of teams actually had a solid draft. Like, it's so tough to pick the losers here. But the loser number one, I think, has to be the New Orleans Saints. The Saints, from a draft perspective, didn't really like they did pick Kelvin Banks, the offensive tackle out of Texas. But they just overall, like them taking Tyler Show, the quarterback out of, I forget what he went to, but taking him there, to me was too high. I mean, Shedeur Sanders was right there. He was right there for the taking. And then they go with a quarterback. Yeah, Tyler Show out of Louisville. They take him 40th overall out of Louisville. And it does kind of remind me of the Brandon Weeden draft pick. Brandon Weeden got drafted in the first round by Cleveland, and he was 28 years old. So, like, I don't know why Cleveland decided to take a 28-year-old quarterback in round one, but that's them. Vernon Broughton's okay. Danny Stutzman, that was like one of the draft picks that I really liked. Devin Neal was all right, but other than that, like, not too like you didn't really need a tight end in round 7. Edge rusher, but you take an edge rusher in the 7th round. So, I mean, New Orleans could have went edge rusher in round 2, or even just take Shedeur Sanders in round 2 as well. So they could have went, because you want to also replace Cam Jordan. He's getting up there in age. But yeah, overall, just they did do a good job of getting Kelvin Banks. I will say that. But overall, just not the greatest draft out of teams. But I will say, like, a lot of teams drafted really well. So it was tough to come up with this segment to see like which teams didn't really have a successful draft. But yeah, it's crazy from the Saints. So in this third and final segment, I have the winners of the draft, trying to end the episode on a high note here. Yeah, like I said in the last segment, overall, like, a lot of teams had good drafts. So this was a little bit tougher to pick out like the 5 teams that I had like as winners or that drafted really well, but I'm gonna get right into it. So the number 5, this team I don't really talk about a whole lot on the show. I feel like this team needs to get a little more love, and that's the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals, to me, really had a good draft. I mean, getting them Walter Nolan in round 1, I thought they were going to go corner. Like, I had them going Will Johnson with their first overall pick, but they decided to upgrade in the trenches with Nolan. It's like, so him and defensive end Josh Sweat is going to be a big problem for opposing offensive lines. And then they get Will Johnson at pick 47, which I thought that's the steal of the draft here. I mean, getting him at 47 when they had you guys picking him at 16, it was absolutely incredible. The reason why he dropped that far, because he did have injury concerns. I mean, he was coming off a pretty big injury in college. I think it was a knee injury. So that's why teams were like kind of going back with Will Johnson. They took Jordan Birch in round 3. I thought was a solid pick. He was a very good player at Oregon. Then they took Cody Simon, the linebacker out of Ohio State, to get a nice little linebacker right there. And then they take Denzel Burke, the corner out of Ohio State. I thought was a very good pick, him and Will Johnson. That's going to be a little bit personal in practices because Will Johnson went to Michigan, Denzel Burke went to Ohio State, and they have a big rivalry in college football. Hayden Conner out of Texas, I think guard, nice depth piece there. The Cardinals do. Their O-line is solid, so giving them another depth piece, and Hayden Conner's not bad. And then they took Kitten Crawford out of Nevada. Overall, I would give their probably grade like an A-. I mean, just them getting Nolan. Like, I did not expect them to take Walter Nolan in that first round. I thought like the Eagles were going to draft him at 32 for the Milton Williams replacement, but the Cardinals did a nice thing there. I mean, that was a very good pick that they had. And especially those first, I would say your first 5 picks are going to be like good starters, good contributors right there. So I mean, I like the Denzel Burke pick a lot. I mean, Will Johnson too, but adding Denzel Burke as well, I think he can definitely surprise. He's going to surprise some people a whole lot. At number 4, I have the Philadelphia Eagles. Their draft, same thing with the Cardinals. Like, their first 2 picks, to me, were very good. I mean, them going ahead and getting Jahad Campbell, which was nice, one of my favorite players in the draft, and he goes to our biggest rival. Is going to be tough to play him twice a year. And then they get help at safety with Andrew Makuba out of Texas. That is obviously your CJ Gardner-Johnson replacement there. I think those first 2 picks are going to be really big key playmakers for that Eagles defense. And they love the Eagles. The bit of a theme in the last couple of drafts is where they would go SEC players in the first round, first couple of rounds actually. There was 1 year, I think it might have been like the Jalen Carter when he got drafted in 20. I think it was 23. He got drafted where they just went all Georgia players in that year's draft. But yeah, the Eagles just keep getting better because they added Jahad Campbell. You got Andrew Makuba. You have Ty Robinson, the defensive tackle out of Nebraska. They also got some quarterback depth in Kyle McCord out of Syracuse. They also took another favorite pick of mine was Cameron Williams, the offensive tackle out of Texas. He had a really good year there. And then also they took Miles Hinton, another offensive tackle out of the University of Michigan. So they really had a nice job, and they had a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They had 10 picks in the draft. They have their day 1 grade was an A, their day 2 grade was a B+, and their day 3 grade was an A. So overall, probably an A. I mean, I think your first three players are going to contribute nicely here. And then we don't really know about Mac McWilliams, the corner out of UCF. We just don't really know if he's going to make. He'll probably be on the special teams. We just don't know if he's going to start right away for the Birds. But overall, great draft. Can't complain about Philadelphia. At number 3, I have the New England Patriots. I think they're big winners in the draft. I mean, obviously, they were going to get Will Campbell at 4. I mean, that was going to happen. I think it would have been a little too early for them to take a wide receiver in Ted McMillan for Drake May. And then, so they take Will Campbell at 4. 38, that was surprising. Travion Henderson. I thought they were going to go with Roger Stevenson and Antonio Gibson as their running backs for the season, but they said, nope, we're just going to take a young, fresh running back for 4 more years and take Henderson, which was a great pick. I really wanted him to fall to Dallas. I was so upset that he didn't get to 44 at Dallas because I thought he could have been there. And of all the I thought Cleveland was going to go Henderson. I thought Chicago was, and I thought Dallas. I thought those 3 teams were going to take Travion Henderson or Quinshon Judkins or even Caleb Johnson. But nope, the Patriots surprised us in taking Henderson there, which was a good move. I even think for fantasy football purposes, he's not going to be the RB1 right away. I think they'll ease him into week like 7 or 8. They'll give him the starting role. Kyle Williams, another great pick. He is an absolute speedster for Drake May. Him, Pop Douglas, and Stephon Diggs. That's a very good receiving core for the Patriots. And if this isn't helping out Drake May, I don't know what is. I mean, they also got Jared Wilson, the center from Georgia, Craig Woodson, the safety from California. I mean, I just love the first 4 picks. I mean, they were all major hits to me. But other than that, I mean, they did draft a kicker in the 6th round because at this point, once you get to this round 6 and 7, you might as well just one team is going to take a kicker in that range. Their day 1 grade was a B-, which I disagree. I think their day 1 grade should be an A, just because Will Campbell is the best O-lineman in the draft. Their day 2 grade was an A+, which I agree with. I mean, them getting Henderson, Kyle Williams, Jared Wilson, and Craig Woodson, and Joshua Farmer is a good move. I think they said A+, and then their day 3 grade was a B, but I would give their draft an overall A. It was a very good draft, and I think Patriots fans should have some hope. They could be a dark horse team. You never know in the AFC. I mean, they could surprise people, but yeah, I think overall, great draft by them. Number 2, I have the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, once again, the Ravens continue to impress me drafting. I mean, there's just, I don't know how they got Malachi Starks at 20. I think it was like 28 or 29. I don't know how they got him there. And then they take Mike Green, the edge rusher from Marshall, which there were some concerns with him. I mean, off the field issues, so that's why he kind of fell. He fell that far there. But man, I mean, I just love it. It's kind of like one of those drafts where one player can make or break your draft. And Malachi Starks, I mean, that was a huge pick by them. I think they weren't expecting them to be there at 27, and he was right there for the take. And they also took Emory Jones, the offensive tackle out of LSU. He played alongside Will Campbell. I thought that was a very good pick. You obviously want to protect Lamar Jackson, the way of how mobile he is. Teddy Buchanan, solid pick, linebacker from California. They also took Carson Vincent, the offensive tackle out of Alabama A&M. So, but overall, I just love how you reloaded the defense with get Malachi Starks and Mike Green, and then obviously Emory Jones is going to be a good blocking offensive tackle for the Ravens. But no, I just like, now you have Kyle Hamilton, Malachi Starks, Nate Wiggins, and Marlon Humphrey as your secondary. That, to me, has to be the best secondary in all of football, because you got two big-time hitters in the safeties, and then Marlon Humphrey is still a shutdown corner, in my opinion, and then Nate Wiggins, who had a very nice rookie season. So the Ravens secondary is looking really, really nice right now. And the biggest winner in the NFL draft, to me, has to be the Cleveland Browns. Yes, I said Cleveland and winner in the same sentence. But, yeah, Cleveland Browns, I'm going to pick them to be the winners of the mock draft. And here is the trade details for the Jags and Browns. So the Jaguars traded up to number 2. They also got a 4th-round pick and a 6th-round pick in that draft class. So Cleveland, in return, got pick number 5, which is their first round. They got number 36, so a 2nd-round pick, a 4th-round pick, and also they got a 2026 first. So Cleveland traded back. They got a lot of picks in return, and they used them really well. I think them going with Mason Graham, him and Myles Garrett is going to be a great duo on that defensive line. They took the linebacker out of UCLA, Carson, I forget his last name, but they took him there, which was a nice pick. He was a very good I did not expect him to be the first pick of the 2nd round. I thought they were going to take a running back, which they did in Quinshon Judkins. So I think Quinshon Judkins, obviously they let go of Nick Chubb, and they still have Jerome Ford on the roster as well. But yeah, Carson Swettinger out of UCLA, going him in the 2nd round was a good pick. Pairing him with Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is a good move by them. Quinshon Judkins, I think out of all that draft, one of my favorite picks of that draft as well. I mean, him. But also, not only did they take Quinshon Judkins, they also took Dylan Sampson. They took Dylan Sampson in round 4. They also took Shedeur Sanders, pick 144 overall. So they took a defensive tackle, a linebacker. They took 2 running backs, 2 quarterbacks, and they also took the tight end Harold Fannin Jr. out of Bowling Green. Yeah, I also love the fact that you add 2 good running backs in Judkins and Dylan Sampson. I obviously, like, the Judkins one makes sense because you needed a young running back, but then you also add Dylan Sampson, so you might have a nice little running back duo for at least 4 years, or you could just use maybe Dylan Sampson as trade bait to improve one of their needs in the future. But yeah, Cleveland really had a good draft. I mean, and also a little bit of a side note, like when they drafted Shedeur Sanders, they showed like the front office, they were not happy. It was like someone had to like force them to draft Sanders. But no, like, and the big reason why I have them as winners is because that they traded out. They got more picks in return. I think those picks was Quinshon Judkins, and it was also, I think, Dylan Sampson as well. So they used those picks to grab those 2 players, the 2 running backs, right there. So, but overall, lovely draft from Cleveland. I think, to me, they get an A+. We'll see what happens. I mean, it's going to be interesting of who the starting quarterback will be. I mean, because they have the most random quarterback room right now. I mean, with Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett, and now you got Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. And obviously Watson is out for the year with the torn Achilles that he has. So it's going to be interesting who's going to be the starter. I personally think it's going to be Flacco, but it's kind of like going to be like a bullpen in baseball. Like it's like a bunch of relievers. Like who's going to relieve this quarterback, who's going to relieve that quarterback, and so on. Well, that's it. That is it for the show. I look forward to seeing you guys back here next week. Please don't forget that you can follow us on social media at DCSA Media Hub.